watching my new podcast series called My Yellow Raincoat. If you are a teacher, a counselor, a coach, a scout leader, anyone who works with kids, if you're a parent and you're wondering, how do I talk to my children about important life lessons? If you're a kid, a teenager, and you want to hear lessons that will help you to live a long, healthy life, please watch my podcast series called My Yellow Raincoat. Now, it's very important that you know that if you pick up a lesson in here and you find it a valuable lesson, please share it with anyone that you think needs that lesson. Because what happens in Rand's class should not stay in Rand's class. Now, I want you to get a vision of this yellow raincoat. It is actually quite heavy, so I'm just going to take off this yellow raincoat and I'm just going to put it over here. Get that vision. And I'll be on with my podcast. Okay, now I was beckoned to the teaching profession, and I knew that by the time I was 4 years old. I knew that I wanted to influence kids. I knew that I wanted to be a teacher. So I had 175 kids every single day, and I was compelled to have these kids come into my classroom where they could hear about not just English, but about moral decisions, about making smart choices to live a long, healthy life, how to deal with peer pressure and what was going on in their lives. It was very important because kids sense sincerity. They know if you really care about them. They know if you like them as not just students, but they know that you love them as people, that you are truly sincere, not just about their education, but about their well-being. Now, I once met a guru. I was taking a class. She was a guru on how to have good classroom discipline. So she said, do not smile for the first 3 or 4 months. I am sure she saw me roll my eyes because that's ridiculous. Not to smile? That's not my personality. My personality is one that I smile and laugh a lot. So to come out there and be someone that I'm not is going to just start the school off. You're being very deceitful. So what I did every day, I stood at my front door and I greeted my students with a big hello, good morning, and a big smile. Now, did they notice? Well, let's see what this young man said to me. Dear Miss Rand, I just wanted to say you're my homie. And you are always a smiley, happy person. I wish all my teachers were as cool as you. Yes, students notice. My classroom was very inviting. I wanted it to feel like a home, right out of Better Homes and Gardens. So I had stapled 20 yards of flowered fabric all over the walls. All the tables were covered with flowered fabric. I had live plants scattered around the room that the kids helped me take care of. And their favorite part was the sound coming from the very nice water fountain. It was very soothing. I have a lot of letters about that. Now the kids wanted to make a very great first impression when they first came into class. So they would sit like this or take out their pen and their notebook. They were just all ready to work, and I would just look around the room and I would just think, oh, this is going to be such an easy year. These kids are a piece of cake. They're so well behaved. Everything is going to be just great. Well, let me tell you, that behavior, that lasts about 3 days. Then the testing begins. Them testing me. Cell phone ringers would go off. The dog ate their homework. They would literally walk into the class with a very large frappuccino with the whipped cream overflowing and think that that was going to be okay in my classroom. We were there to work. I often referred to myself as Random Rand because I would come up with these very out of the clear blue. That was so random. Where did she come up with that? That is so random. So if I could read their thoughts, I would say that many of my students thought I was a bit weird. Well, I actually didn't have to read their minds because they were more than happy to share these thoughts with me, verbally and written. Here's another letter. Dear Miss Rand, when I first stepped into your classroom, I thought you were crazy. I thought this class would be a difficult class to deal with. But I was wrong. You were not crazy. You were a prophet on life. I will take all of these life lessons to high school and college. Thanks to you, I will be much more successful, not only because of life lessons, but the class on a whole. Thank you very much. So if you listen to the podcast, you will find all of these tidbits that I presented in class, in all of my classes. I had 5 classes a day. You will hear the lessons that I taught and then make adjustments to however you need to use them. I'm going to be introducing this lesson that I taught on the first day of every school year. This is the lesson that I have received the most letters about, and how kids actually use this lesson. And remember that vision of that yellow raincoat? This lesson is called My Yellow Raincoat. And you're probably wondering about this unusual title for this podcast, because what does a yellow raincoat have to do with an English class? So here's the lesson. Class, I was a late bloomer when it came to sports. I mean, a really late bloomer. Playing tennis was actually my first athletic activity, and I was already a mom. So it took me months to be able to just bounce that ball and hit it over the net. And I'm not kidding, months. I had no hand-eye coordination. But lo and behold, I fell in love with that sport, and I got really good. I could take my racket back. I had a 2-handed backhand, and I could take that racket back and I could just drive it right up that to the backhand, right up the line. Boom! I had a wicked forehand. I could take that ball and just smack it cross court with a lot of power. And my serve, I could put it anywhere in the court. I mean, I got really good. And I started competing. I would enter tournaments and have matches and enter tournaments. But I had an issue, and that issue was I didn't know how to win. I might be down 2 points. I could have made a comeback. I lost. I might have been up 2 points. I had that game wrapped up. I lost because I didn't know how to win. So part of my lessons were talking to my teacher and saying, how do I win? Why am I losing all of these games? I got some solid skills here. We developed creative visualizations. So I would close my eyes before I would go on the court and say, I'm going to win this match. I see myself. I'm going to win this match. This is going to be so great. I'm going to win this match. And I would visualize it. If I was down 2 points, I could close my eyes and I could visualize myself coming back and winning that game. And if I was up 2 points, well, you're not going to win this game. I'm going to win this game. And I've got that vision in my mind. I could visualize clapping. I could visualize taking the trophy. I had these creative visualizations. Now, because these creative visualizations are so important, it kind of connects to that expression. That old expression that you've been hearing for a long time in your life. If you can see it, you can be it. If you can see it, you can do it. So that's what I did. I visualized. Now, I ended up using these creative visualizations for many things that came in my life. How many of you have had a creative visualization? Maybe when you were performing in a play and you were nervous, so you wanted to make sure that you were going to perform very well. So you closed your eyes and you envisioned the people, oh, they were all clapping. You were so great. Or maybe before a big exam, and you were nervous about that exam because that was a really important exam. And so you closed your eyes and you envisioned getting that exam paper back and it said you aced it. You had that visualization. Or maybe you were running in a track meet and you visualized yourself before that track meet. You visualize that you were the one that broke through the ribbon and you were the one that won that race. How many of you have had this? A sidebar over here to the lesson, these kids came up with some really great things, some really great visualizations. One young man saw himself, he won a swimming meet. Another young lady, she visualized herself being awarded first chair in the orchestra. And a very confident young man, he knew that he was going to be the boyfriend, the next boyfriend of Selena Gomez. They're so adorable, aren't they? They come up with these things. They like really get into the lessons. Now, life is not always smooth sailing, but sometimes we have hiccups in life. And we have to learn how to deal with those hiccups. Perhaps you didn't win the swim meet. You took second place and you were disappointed. Something that you have to deal with. Maybe you didn't get first chair in the orchestra. Maybe instead, your best friend did. That was so disappointing. That was a big hiccup. And as for Selena Gomez, she had another new boyfriend. We learn how to deal with these things. We're sad. We reach out to the people that care about us. And then eventually, something happens and we heal from those things. We may decide, okay, I'm not giving up on swimming. I'm going to keep swimming and I'm going to win. I'll get it next time they have an audition for first chair. I'll get it next time. Or maybe perhaps you just say, I'm going to try something else. Like for me with tennis, I love the sport, but I thought, I'm an athlete now. I can try something else. And I actually went on to work on karate. We bounce back because they were hiccups. Now, life is full of surprises, and some of them are difficult to deal with because sometimes it's not a hiccup in life. Sometimes we take a nosedive and we sink so low and we don't know how in the world we're going to deal with it. We don't know how we're going to get back to that joyful, peaceful place that we need to be. I have personally gone through this a few times, and you know that my daughter has cancer. I know that I've shared that with you. Well, when she was first diagnosed, she was given a 5% chance to live. And I have to tell you, that was the biggest nosedive I've ever had to deal with in my life. Because I didn't have any coping skills for this. I was so nervous that I was going to lose my daughter. And I was nervous that my other daughter was going to lose her sister and best friend. So I had a lot to deal with. She was having surgery, and I was at home, and I could not sleep the night before her surgery. The doctors were going to cut open her throat. I couldn't sleep, and I said, you know what? I need a new creative visualization. I have to visualize something to get me through this. I don't know how to get through this. So I developed a creative visualization called My Yellow Raincoat. So visualize it as I walk over to the wall. Because I'm going to get that yellow raincoat. And I'm going to put on that shiny black hat. And I'm going to pull up my black galoshes. And I'm going to slip into that yellow raincoat and buckle those clips. Because I have to trudge through this storm now. And wow, it is storming. The wind is just howling. The rain is just pouring down on me. Tears are just streaming down my face. But you know what? I'm protected. I'm going to just keep going. I am going to keep going through that storm, and I'm going to get through this storm. And there's a very odd thing that happens. First of all, you have to know that you never are alone when you're going through that storm. There are so many people that care about you and that want to help you to get through that storm. So we have to know that we can reach out to these people. They are our parents, our siblings, our friends' parents, doctors that we know, people from our place of worship we can reach out to. There are so many people that care about us. Don't ever think that you have to go through that storm alone. But the one thing that I have figured out is that eventually that sun That storm is going to end. It's going to pass. And that sun is going to shine again. It might not seem like it. Like it didn't seem like it when my mom passed away. But I know that my mom would not want to be looking down at me and saying, if she was looking down at me, she would be saying, okay, you cried. Now it's time to move on. It's time to heal because I don't want you to see you suffer. You're my daughter and I don't want to see you suffer. And my daughter, she's still living with cancer. All this time, the doctors have kept her alive. It's amazing. How many of you have ever had to use a yellow raincoat? Anybody in here have a sad story that they would like to share with us when they took a nosedive? It is amazing when you open up, when you have this classroom where it's a tight bond, where the kids feel so comfortable, so safe, sharing their stories. One young person told us that his dad had punched his mom in the stomach, and she was pregnant. Boy, that class got quiet. But I have met his little brother. Another young lady told us about when her grandfather passed away and how much that she misses him. The class discussion was very somber that day. But the compassion that I heard from the kids was just overwhelming. And this is what happens when you open your classroom to discussions like this. The bonding just grows and grows. This is a letter that I have received the most often from my students concerning the yellow raincoat. So I'm going to read this somber letter that I got from a student. He was no longer in my classroom. He had moved on to high school. So I want to share this letter with you. Dear Miss Rand, this is Richard, your student from last year. I just wanted to check up on things and how you were doing this year. I would have visited many times already, but football runs directly after school every day, so I don't have time. I would like to let you know that my father passed away last week over break. I am constantly thinking about what you were telling us last year. I keep thinking of you, and I want to thank you for taking time out of your class to let us know about the important things in life. I am currently borrowing your yellow raincoat. Thank you. I went to the funeral for this young man, and it was very sad because all of his friends were there. It was all young people, and it was just a very sad day. And as I went through the line to pay my respects, he's very tall, and I was looking up at him, and tears were streaming down his face. And I gave him this big hug, and tears are streaming down my face. And I looked up at him, and he goes, I'm wearing the yellow raincoat. Being a teacher is a huge responsibility. Working with kids is a huge responsibility. I wanted to be proactive and guide my students through the teenage years. So please listen to my podcast for insights to what I learned by being in the classroom. And if at any point you need the yellow raincoat, just take it and keep it as long as you need it. Thank you.